Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode. You'll notice that last week I didn't release an episode. I was traveling for work and time just got away from me and I couldn't make it happen. But I am back and I'm actually recording this on the night I've arrived back home and it's super late and I'm feeling the jet lag hit me, but I am powering through because I am so excited to bring you today's episode. Today, I am super excited because I have my good friend Krista Stryker on. She is an athlete, an entrepreneur, author, the founder of 12-Minute Athlete, and all-around badass. We talked about approaching movement and fitness from a place of play and really finding the joy out of it. So Krista and I got into a really great conversation about her own fitness journey. She was definitely not the athlete she is today when she started. And how we can really find our own style of movement that brings us joy. We talked about why it's important to find your thing when it comes to fitness and movement. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and you definitely don't have to spend hours slaving away at the gym if you don't want to. I'll catch you at the end of the episode for some little nuggets of wisdom to wrap things up, but enjoy this conversation. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Recess Life podcast. I have my good friend Krista Stryker today, and I am so excited to have a chat with her. She is the founder of 12-Minute Athlete, a blog, an app, a website, and she's going to tell us all about it. And so thank you so much, Krista, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yes. So you and I have known each other for a good few years now, and which is
crazy.
Time flies. And we really connected over our love of movement and fitness, and I've just been so excited to see how your life and business has transformed over the years. But give us a quick synopsis about what 12-Minute Athlete is about.
I'm very, very excited about fitness. So there are workouts that you can do anywhere with like very minimal equipment. They're very efficient, and I try to help people like basically get rid of their excuses to be able to work out anywhere they are, anywhere, anytime, no matter how busy they are. So that's like kind of the basic foundation of it. And like through the app, we have workouts, we have programs, stuff like that. But from there, I really, really hope to help people like discover their own love of movement. So that's like, you get people started and then you go from there.
Mm-hmm. A love of movement. And I know I hear from so many people that they hear the word movement and it freaks them out a little bit. And I know for you didn't always love movement. So give us a little bit of background on how your relationship with movement and fitness became to be what it is today.
Sure. So I grew up in a pretty active family. My dad is like a superstar. He's about turned 70 and like does all the sports, like kiteboards, skis, snowboards, surfs. I mean, it's just like endless. But as a kid growing up, I was kind of reluctant to play sports. I wanted to read and kind of like sit in my closet by myself. Instead, I was a total introvert. I was very shy. And so I played sports growing up just kind of because that's what you did in the town I grew up in, soccer, basketball, but never really felt that into them. It was never like my thing. And basically when I left high school, I stopped doing any form of activities, didn't even like walk very much. Now that's one of my favorite things in the world is just to walk everywhere. So I gained, freshman 15, whatever, but like more than that, I just didn't feel good, physically, mentally, anything. I wasn't eating well. I just wasn't really taking care of my body. And I really just had like I assumed that this was it. You know, I was going to be this like slightly pudgy, super weak. I was like not strong at all. Weak, kind of non-athletic person for the rest of my life. And the thing was that no one told me otherwise. You know, I don't know if you took those like presidential fitness tests growing up.
Oh, yeah.
But I absolutely hate those because they don't give you any chance to practice or work on those things. And so, you know, you're a girl, you're asked to do a pull-up and you can't do one. No one is like, well, if you work at it and you practice and you do the right things to build up the strength to do a pull-up, you can do one someday. It was just like, well, you can't do a pull-up, you're weak. And that really frustrates me.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I just vividly remember doing those tests. And once you do those tests, there isn't follow-up and you just sort of get pigeonholed or, you know, you're told this is where you're at and that's it.
This is you for the rest of your life, right? Like, I couldn't touch my toes. I was so like not flexible. Now I can do the splits, like just all that kind of stuff. So I had it in my head because no one had told me otherwise that this is who I was and it wasn't going to change. And that's super frustrating. You know, it was like, I didn't want to be that person, but I just didn't know how to be otherwise. So kind of what happened in college is like, I was just so lost in like every area of my life. My confidence was just like plummeted. I just did not know what to do. And like there was one thing that happened is I have an older brother. He's 6'7", super tall, was a college basketball player, super athletic, and I always had kind of like a little bit of a rivalry with him, despite the fact that he was so giant and I was like this weakling. And one day he challenged me to do a push-up, and I like could never do a push-up. I think I did 3 of like the worst push-ups anyone's ever seen in their life. But something in that it switched in me, and I was I don't know if you've ever read I can't remember the author, but she talks about like the fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Yeah. Carol Dweck?
Yes. Yeah. I wish I'd read that when I was like 12. It would have changed my life. But all of a sudden I kind of switched to a growth mindset, whereas like my entire teenage years were this fixed mindset where I couldn't change. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I can do these crappy push-ups now, but maybe if I actually work towards it, I could get better. And that was just like the start of experimenting. And, you know, again, like I also was dealing with all my like youth and growing up, I dealt with like a lot of like depression and anxiety, and my mood would I was all over the place. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I actually, like, at times, I punched a few holes in my parents' walls.
Oh, wow.
So I would have that pent-up energy, and I didn't know where to put it.
Right.
And now
weren't you kind of a goth kid?
Yeah, I was a little bit of a punk.
I love it. Looking at you now, you would never know.
Put that.
Right. All that angst.
California
what to do with it.
But I didn't know where to put that energy. And so, like, looking back, yeah, I punched holes in their walls. Sometimes I would have to, like, go out in their driveway and, like, sprint. But I didn't connect, you know, movement to that. And now it's like movement is my therapy. It's everything to me. So it was really, like, a long process of discovery. And also discovering, like, what I liked, what I enjoyed, and not having to, you know, I actually, like, hate running. Some people love running. I started out thinking, okay, if I'm going to be fit, I have to run. I have to run 3 to 5 miles, and that's my only choice. Now, like, I know that that's not true. But it's going through that kind of discovery process and learning what you enjoy and what doesn't feel like torture and what does feel like more like joy and play.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like when you were challenged to do the push up by your brother, it sort of ignited something in you that made you think, huh, okay, well, I did 3 really crappy push ups, and that's where I'm starting from now, but maybe there's something more.
Yeah,
And it just sort of unlocked this period of discovery for you. And I know
for
that
sure.
it meandered a bit, even in the, like you just talked about, in the fitness side of things, because you were doing things like, okay, let's try running, let's try this, and but you had to find what worked for you in order
Totally.
to really feel, in order to find your thing. So, how did you find? I know HIIT is your primary form of working out and movement now, amongst many other things. But how did you find HIIT in particular? How did that? How did your path land you to HIIT?
So once I like actually got into fitness, I again like I was super lost, early 20s, had no idea what to do in my life. So I ended up getting my personal training certification, kind of just to prove to myself I could. And then from there, I did like the typical gym thing. It was all focused on appearance, and I would do, my cardio on the treadmill, elliptical machine. I would do just your standard weightlifting routine. Not really very goal focused. Took a lot of time, an hour, 2 hours to get it all in, and it just got kind of old. It's kind of that stuff is like, it's not very motivating, especially if you're only focused on looks.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was living in New York City, and it was a very, very snowy winter, and I couldn't always go outside. Like, the snow was like they weren't clearing the sidewalks. So I was like, okay, you know what? I can't get to my gym routine. What can I do inside? And I had a kettlebell and like a dip bar station. It's like, okay, I'm going to see what works. And I think that was also the time when I started to like understand what kind of body weight movements were. Like, as a trainer, you go through this education, but it's not very comprehensive. You're learning just kind of, yeah, like the standard, like, kind of boring exercises that, like, they're good, but they're not, yeah, very motivating long term. So I started to kind of experiment and get more into just body weight exercises, things like push-ups, pull-ups,
Mm-hmm.
body weight rows, some kettlebell stuff. And what I discovered was that not only were my workouts like much, much more efficient, they're a lot shorter. I was able to like fit them in under 20 minutes. I was all of a sudden getting a lot stronger. I was more kind of focused because I was able to have better goals with it. If you can't do a full push-up, you work towards that and you take the steps necessary to be able to do that at one point. And then when you get to a full push-up, your goals change and grow from there. But that was, I don't know, it changed everything for me. And I actually had, for a long time, even as a trainer, in terms of appearance, which I don't like to focus on, but like everyone does think about their appearance. It was hard for me to stay lean. I never like really got to a level of like leanness that I was happy with. And the HIIT stuff just changed that for me. It was like all of a sudden I just like came into my body that I was comfortable with it. Felt stronger. I don't know. It was great.
Yeah, wow. And then from there, 12-minute athlete was born, I think. Well, I'm sure there was
Yes.
definitely some time in between that.
No, totally.
But now 12-minute athlete is here and it's changing so many lives. I know there are hundreds and thousands of people that have downloaded the app. You just released a new book and you really advocate for this lifestyle that is about movement and discovery in your body and HIIT as a way to do that. But there's so much so much more to be discovered and so much more to explore with your body. And tell me a little bit about why you think some of us maybe get into that fixed mindset like you're talking about, because I know also for me growing up, I didn't think I was an athletic person either. And I looked at the people that were the athletic stars of my school and I just thought, okay, that they're different. And then there's me. They are special. And I'm just not special. And you're not told otherwise, because being athletic is a very specific picture. And you don't realize that there's maybe your version of what it means to be athletic. But why do you think that happens to us, and how can we overcome that?
I mean, why it happens, I think it's just parents, teachers, adults don't understand how to encourage kids, maybe because they were never encouraged themselves. And like, especially, in junior high, high school, team sports are king. So if you're in the football team, the basketball team, volleyball, you're a star. The individual sports aren't pushed that. So for me, looking back, like if I would have, learned to box in high school, I would have absolutely loved it. But I didn't know that was an option. It wasn't like a thing. And it's the same with, dance, rock climbing. There's so many things that you can do. And we don't encourage our kids enough to try. And not only do we not encourage them to try, we don't help them understand that it's okay if you're not really good at something at the beginning. If you work towards it, you're gonna get better. Mm-hmm. So I wish I'd had that more, but
yeah.
I just think it's such a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we grow up, and as adults, we just have these stories in our heads, and literally it could have been from a comment in 3rd grade when some punk kid told you were bad at something, and you just have that in your mind still. It's so crazy how that stuff just gets burned into us.
Yes, I know. I mean, I think we can all remember the times we got made fun of, or when we felt clumsy trying something, and we thought, okay, that's just not for me, so I'm never going to do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is. And it can happen just like that.
Yeah.
Without even trying. So yeah, I really think that it's important that we all find our thing, whatever that looks like. And HIIT might not be your thing, but maybe boxing is, maybe running is. Is there any advice you would give to someone about finding what their thing might be when it comes to fitness and movement, whether that's running, HIIT, boxing, and how can they have that spark ignited in them?
Okay, so here's how I think about stuff is as much as I love HIIT, it's not the thing that I'm oh, that's so much fun to do. It's hard. It's you're sweating a lot, your muscles are aching the whole time. So I like to have people think about, their workouts as a way to support their thing. So, if you love playing tennis or rock climbing or, whatever it is, if you do your workouts a couple of times a week or however many times you want to do them, you're going to feel that during your activity or sport of choice. So you're going to feel stronger, you're going to feel like you can, work harder, go longer, whatever it is. So that's how I think about working out. I like to, just have people have their workouts support their life. So as far as finding your thing goes, it just is literally experimenting. And some of that is thinking, back to when you were a kid, what was fun? What did you look forward to? What was something that got you moving that didn't feel like a workout? I took up adult gymnastics a few years ago, and I had never, I did it for a year when I was 5, and I wasn't good, I was told I wasn't good, or it wasn't like going to be in the Olympics, so no one encouraged me to keep going. But I always thought of it as like, oh, that was so much fun. So I tried. I was scared to try it. I was really nervous to try it. And it was just like, it was a blast. And even when I wasn't like good at something, I would just leave every class just like with the biggest dorky grin on my face because it was so much fun. And that's like, for me, how I feel about boxing. And like so many people, like I said, my dad does so many different sports. Like it's fun to watch people when they're doing something that just gives them so much joy.
Yes. And
but it takes a while. You might not find it at first.
Yep, exactly.
Keep trying.
Keep experimenting and really approaching it from a place of play. Okay, let's give this gymnastics class a try. Yeah. And I might trip over myself, but that's okay. Who's looking at me? Who cares?
Make a friend go with you. Make it just like a fun thing that's no pressure at first.
Yeah. Exactly. And I love that you mentioned that you started doing gymnastics as an adult, because I think that's one of those skills or one of those talents that people think you have to do when you are a kid and only start when you're a kid, and you started when you were an adult. And if anyone goes on Krista's Instagram, you'll see that she is a baller at handstands and so many other skills, things that you would think you can only learn when you're young. And so I think you're just such a living example of what it means to approach things from a place of play, no matter what age you are, from a fitness and movement perspective. So you just launched a new book called The 12-Minute Athlete. Tell us a little bit about the book and who it is for.
Of course. So, I really approached, the book is really just kind of like my philosophy, just kind of takes the blog and app and everything and like puts it into one easy to understand story. But like it definitely talks about my background. If you do see me on Instagram, I really try to like tell people often, like, I have not always been this strong. I have not always been able to do these things. Anyone who has followed my journey from even the beginning of 12-Minute Athlete, like 5 years ago, I've like changed and grown and gotten so much stronger. So I always try to remind people, like, I didn't come at that, like, start with this level where I'm at today. It's been a constant journey for me. So I do talk about my background in the book and just try to give people, just encourage them to start, no matter where they're at, no matter like how old they are, if you're a woman and you're told you're weak, like all these things, all these reasons that you might not want to start, getting fitter or just kind of going on a fitness and health journey. So I talk a lot about that and just really try to encourage people that no matter where they are, like they can get better, they can get stronger, they can get fitter, all these things that even if they were told they're not good at a young age, they can do it. So I really, try to encourage people. And then go through, all the exercises and workouts that I love. And part of the reason that I love this kind of stuff, HIIT, bodyweight training, calisthenics, is that, you can do it, anywhere. You don't need a gym for the most part. So many people have reasons, excuses why they can't get fit. And a lot of times they don't want to belong to a gym. It's intimidating, it's expensive, whatever it is. And it didn't start out this way for me, but one of my favorite things in the world are outdoor workouts. So I just love it. Like, I feel like you breathe fresh air. It's just invigorating. Like, it's energizing. It's just awesome. So I love to do workouts outside. I try to just help people, like, find ways to get creative, to do outdoor workouts, or, if it's freezing or snowing, do them in your apartment, all these things. So
I feel like outdoor workouts are very similar to playing on a playground. Just like
totally,
we were when we were a kid, right? We would.
exactly. It's very natural.
Absolutely. It's very instinctual to want to climb and run
Yeah.
around. And I think as we grow older, it's easy for that instinct to fall away, or for us to tell ourselves that's silly and we should stop doing that. But
Right.
it's not silly.
It's never silly. Always
No,
have fun.
exactly. It's all about having
And if you do
fun.
have kids, then they'll look up to you and they'll also love to play and have fun. So
Yes.
win-win for everybody.
Yep, exactly. Right? You're just playing with your kids, essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
just love it.
yes, it's so fun, and there's so many, and we're lucky to live in California where there's a lot of opportunities to do that. But you can do that
We're
anywhere.
very lucky. You can. I mean, I was just in New York City and it was freezing. It was so cold. But I did work out in the outdoor. They have tons of outdoor fitness parks in New York. Super cool. So
Yeah.
if you're ever there, check them out.
Yes, New York's also a really great place for that.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any personal practices around self-doubt when it comes to up leveling in a skill or becoming better in what you're doing? Because I know you work on lots of very interesting skills, and some of them are very challenging. And how do you overcome some of that doubt in yourself?
It's a great question. It's tough sometimes. I think when it's really hard is when you think you're working really hard at something and that you plateau and you don't know why. And for me, the best way I've found to get out of those times is to work with someone like a coach that has more knowledge than me, because there's certain times that you might think you're doing all the right things, but you're not.
Yeah.
Or you just don't have that knowledge that an expert would. I mean, if I had I decided to try to learn to do a handstand like 4 years ago now. When I first tried, I practiced in soft sand on the beach, which anyone who's like ever worked on handstands knows that that's like the hardest possible thing. You think in your mind that it would be nice because you can fall, but it's really, really hard to get like a grip and like understand
Right.
the balance. So if I would have stopped there, I would have never gone anywhere close to where I was today. It took me learning and like seeking out experts, which has been such a joy. Like I absolutely love to learn from people who know more than me. I think it's fascinating. It's so much fun. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. If you can work with a coach on anything, it's an amazing experience. But just in general, seeking out knowledge, read as much as you can. Social media is amazing because you can find out so many tips and stuff that you never ever would have been able to found out before. But just know that you just probably need to figure out something that's going wrong. Like there's something that's missing. So acknowledge that. Don't be hard on yourself, but try to figure out what it is. And then just keep going. If it's important to you, don't give up. There might be certain things that you just decide after a while of trying that, you know what, this isn't worth my time. I'd rather put my energy into something else, and that's okay too. But if it is important to you, like keep trying, because you'll get there.
Yep. Yes. I definitely think it starts with compassion on yourself and not expecting to be perfect, because it's so easy to get discouraged when you aren't perfect right away. When we try certain things, we may be good at them right away. So if we're not good at some fitness or movement related things, we just can easily think, oh, that's just not for me. And we just close ourselves off to the idea of it. So moving past
Yeah.
that is
Don't do
really
that.
hard. Yeah.
Because the reality is it's unlikely that you'll actually be very good at any new thing at the beginning because you haven't done it before. The only things that you might be pretty good at is if they're related to something that you've already been doing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
just be nice to yourself and realize, like, it's all about baby steps. It's about, I'm always, like, pushing the concept of, like, progression. So you start wherever you're at, and then you try to work up goal by goal, but you're not going to go from, being scared to be upside down to a 1 minute freestanding handstand within a month. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So just be kind to yourself, and you have to enjoy the journey because that's how it is. Like,
mm-hmm. Yep. And it's having your own personal goals too. And yes, maybe your first goal is just not to be scared of being upside down for 5 seconds. And you just move up from there, but they're your goals. They're no one else's, and no one can tell you that you should have different goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you have to create those goals that are exciting and motivating to you. It's all about, like, intrinsic motivation. I like to talk about that. Like, it comes from within.
Yeah.
Don't let other people tell you what to do.
No, exactly. It's your life. It's your journey. Do it your way.
I have some friends who are training for a half marathon right now, and again, running is just not my thing. Like, Krista, do you want to do it? There's nothing I would like to do less. Like, I'm like, no, I'm training for my first amateur boxing fight right now, and I'm super excited about that. But you're not going to get me to run a half marathon.
That's right. When is your first fight?
I don't know. We have to find. So apparently, how it works is you have to find a match. So we're looking for later this year.
Oh my gosh.
So
that is so exciting. I might fly down to Venice and watch you and cheer you on.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what your own personal goals are next.
Yeah, so, like, my fitness goals, or
fitness and business, right. Blog, yeah.
Well, fitness-wise, I mean, I got the handstand bug. I don't know. I think I'm gonna be, like, 90 years old and, like, rocking handstands. Like, I just, like, love them. I think it's because I'm so fast in my, like, normal life, and I'm, like, speeding around. I walk really fast. Like, everything is really fast, and handstands, it's like, for some people, yoga, that's the same way. It forces me to slow down. I have to be very present in the moment. I like to listen to, like, audiobooks. Yeah, and it's such slow progress. It's just like, I don't know, it's like amazing how slow the progress is. But the progress is there if you stick with it. So I'm with handstand training. I'm working towards a one-arm handstand, which anyone who's worked on that knows how it is an incredibly slow process.
I can't imagine. How long is your two-handed handstand? Have you timed it?
Yeah, I can hold it pretty consistently for like a minute. I honestly like get a little bored after that, so I haven't tried to push it much longer, but I probably should.
I just want to emphasize that you went from hardly being able to do a push-up to now doing a 1 minute handstand and are working towards a one-armed handstand. And so you're just living proof of the progress that you can make if you stick with it.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, if you would have told me this when I was like 15, I would have, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way at all. So yeah, that, training a lot, boxing, I just like love it. I don't know. There's something about the hard work of boxing that I really enjoy, as well as like, if you've ever tried boxing, you might think at first that it's all just about like hitting hard, but there's so much technique, there's so much learning involved, and I just find it endlessly fascinating.
Yeah.
So things like that. And, I'm always like using my kind of quick HIIT type workouts to support those goals. That's what keeps me fairly strong. It keeps me in conditioning shape so I can go into those other things and not think about them like a workout. I'm going into, for the most part, to learn and also to play. And that's really the basis of what those are. So like, I will do like 2-a-day workouts sometimes, but it's because I'm doing one workout that's very goal focused, to get stronger, to build my conditioning, and then the other is really to work technique and just have fun. So I don't even think of it as like 2-a-day workouts. It's just like, to me, that's just what brings me so much joy.
You work out to play, essentially, to be able to play better.
Play better, and to stay sane, because it's my therapy.
Yes. Good.
So for sure, to play better.
So that you don't punch any more holes in walls.
Yeah, now I can punch a punching bag.
There you go.
It's amazing. I think I've become a lot more like low key in person now, because I now have outlets where I can take out my aggression on, and it's okay.
Absolutely. Thank goodness for that. I'm sure your husband's very happy about that too.
Totally. But like with all the stuff that you do with dance, like it's just the stuff that you love, and when you're not doing it, it's not as fun. Life is not as enjoyable.
Something's definitely missing if I'm not moving or connecting with my body in a way that's joyful. So,
totally.
Fully agree. This is awesome, and thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and your journey with us. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you, 12-Minute Athlete, or connect with you?
So at this point, you can Google 12-Minute Athlete and everything comes up. You can go to 12minuteathlete.com. All my social media is just at 12-Minute Athlete. It's pretty easy to find. Same in like the App Store, Google Play Store. You'll find it.
Thanks again for coming on.
Of course.
All right. Thanks, Krista. Thank you for tuning into that conversation with Krista Stryker, the 12-Minute Athlete. I told you she was a badass, didn't I? So let's get into those nuggets of wisdom that we learned from this conversation. Number 1, take the time to find what your movement or fitness thing is. It doesn't have to be going to the gym. It doesn't have to be running. If those things don't sound fun to you, approach movement and fitness from a place of play. Movement is not reserved for just those athletes that we think are uniquely gifted. There are so many different ways to move and experience our body. Everything from running to boxing, rock climbing, skateboarding. So give everything a shot. So I just encourage you to find something that feels good in your body when it comes to movement. And don't worry if you are not going to be good at it right away, because that brings me to the second point, which is number 2, adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that you can improve over time if you practice and put in the time to get better at something. The idea that we are not these static beings that have only a certain amount of talent and abilities, but instead we have the ability to change, to get better, and to improve if we really work at it. The opposite of a growth mindset is a fixed mindset, which is the idea that we are only born with a certain amount of talent or abilities, and that we don't really have the capacity to change. So those two different mindsets can really dictate how much you can grow and how much you can really be successful at something that you try. And I know for me, I had a really fixed mindset around my athletic and movement abilities. I thought that being athletic and a mover was only meant for certain people, and they had a certain quality that I just wasn't born with. So I let that stop me for a long time. I didn't go to my first dance class until I was an adult, and I finally was able to just break through that self-doubt and attend my first dance class. And I stumbled my way through a lot for the first couple years, and I'm still learning and growing. But the reality is that I have gotten better over time because I have put in the effort and have put in the investment into really learning and to getting better. So I believe that's possible for everyone, no matter what it is that you're trying. If you're not good at it right away, you can improve. So if there's something that you want to try and you are not perfect at it right away, because I guarantee you won't be, put in that time and adopt a growth mindset around getting better. And Krista, for example, when she started her fitness journey, she was barely able to do 3 crappy push-ups, and now she's getting ready for her first amateur boxing match. And she's also working on a one-armed handstand. So that just goes to show you that even Krista, who we may all look at and think she has these natural gifted abilities, she had to work really hard to get to where she is now. So if it's possible for Krista, it's possible for you also. Number 3, it is never too late to discover something new about yourself and your body. I didn't start hip hop dance classes until I was an adult, and Krista didn't start gymnastics classes until she was an adult. And you would look at both those activities, gymnastics and dance, as something that you start doing when you're a kid. And that is not true at all. It is never too late to try something new and to gain experience in something. We get into this mindset that our bodies are only capable of so much after a certain age, and that is so not true. My father is 71 years old and he swims every day. He's always trying new different activities. He has a pull-up bar in our backyard and he does pull-ups from it. He likes to twirl around on playgrounds. If he decided he was done experimenting with his body 20, 30, 40 years ago, he would not be experiencing all this joy that is available to him. So it is never too late to experience your body. Do it for the sake of discovery and for fun. It is never too late. Fitness and movement is one of my favorite topics to talk about and to experience. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this conversation and that it inspired you to play and experience your body in a different way. Our bodies are so much more capable than we give it credit for sometimes. If you are not subscribed already on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, make sure you do so today. If you have a friend that has ever said, I am just not one of those workout fitness type people, send this podcast to them. I would love it if you would leave a review on iTunes, preferably of the 5-star variety. If you are on Instagram, you can follow along at The Recessed Life, and make sure you go to therecessedlife.com where I share the show notes and resources from today's episode, and you can find out more about Krista there. So again, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and I really sincerely hope that it helps you to discover more play for yourself when it comes to your body. I really think it is one of the most precious things we've been given in this life. I appreciate that you've taken out this time to think about how you can get in better touch with your inner child, and that you are choosing to tune into this podcast out of all the other podcasts that are out there. I hope to see you next week for another episode, and until then, don't forget to get out and play today.